This building was built with television news very much in the forefront of its mind. Right now they're prepping for the noon broadcast as well as working ahead on some other stuff that's coming up later on this month. So first thing you see here is our assignment desk, this giant cubicle of fun. This is where everything sort of originates for us. The police scanners are up here, all the email, the computer phone calls, it all comes in right here. It really is sort of the master control for this breaking. All breaking news stories eventually do come through this. We have all the other stations so we can monitor what they have going on, as well as that monitor over there. That monitor is literally brand new this week. You'll see like there's 16 little TV screens right there. That's monitoring all the TV sources that are coming into the building that we can get punched up. We can change them around as needed, but that's just a small sampling of what we have. So the assignment areas can be monitoring live shots that are coming in from reporters out in the field, breaking news if it's coming in on the satellites from California or wherever it might be. So all of that they can monitor right from there. Surrounding the newsroom, you see 10 little cubicles. Those are edit bays. That's actually where they edit the video. We don't use Final Cut Pro. We do have a couple of admin machines, which you guys are probably more familiar with. We use a program called Grass Valley. If you walk around here, actually decide the order of the stories that they decide what order they go into the newscast, and then they actually write. Very often the anchors don't write their own stories. They will tweak them for their own particular voice. But it's actually the producers and the writers who are actually putting together the stories on a daily basis. And they're deciding what's the most important story, what they're going to lead with, what's going to be page 2. They're looking at all the feeds coming across from California or New York or LA and deciding where those stories end up in the newscast. This is Matthew Crandall. Matthew's one of our newest writers in APs.
This is putting me out on the spot.
Yeah, I know. So Matt, explain, what do you do here?
I write in the morning show. During the week, I prompt for usually the noon, sometimes the evening if they need me. On the weekends, I'll edit the morning show, so that's pretty good. Definitely learned a lot from Middlesex, so it's a great program.
Matt's sort of one of those jack of all trades. When you're very, very often first starting off in this industry, you do whatever it takes. When I first started off, I did evenings, weekends, overnights, every imaginable awful shift. But eventually you sort of work your way up. So it is not for the faint of heart. It's not for people who are like, I want a 9-to-5 job. Nope. TV news is not that way. You are inevitably going to miss birthdays. You're inevitably going to miss anniversaries. My brother and sister are both in the process of getting married, and I've told them there are 3 months out of the year in which you're not allowed to get married because it's virtually impossible for me to get time off. November, February, and May are really bad months. Let me take you into the news studio, so come right this way. Around here on the other side, you can actually see the teleprompter, and Alyssa here is actually prompting the Better Connecticut show, which tapes at 10 o'clock but airs at 3 o'clock. So what's going to happen is when that show starts in a couple of minutes, she'll actually begin rolling down it. But we have lots of cool positions around here. This is our platform position. We can put anchors up there. All these TV screens around here, we're able to put video in them, we're able to put graphics in them. This is where all the folks do weather from. I think Mark's doing better right now when Scott's off. But all their forecasting is done from right in here. They get multiple computer models. You sometimes think, oh, the weatherman will get it wrong. Well, what they're doing is they're looking at 20 to 30 different computer models to figure out what the weather is going to do based off their experiences. We also have a Doppler radar. Does anyone, you guys go up to Bradley? You ever look at the old Terminal B, which is the terminal that no one uses anymore? There's a giant white dome on top of that. Well, that giant white dome is actually our Doppler radar. We actually own that. We give it to Bradley for their use, but we also use it. It's our use exclusively here. That's spinning constantly, and that's figuring out where exactly the rain is, where exactly the snow is. Anyone have any questions so far? No?
Do you guys set lights for each show, or is this pretty well set all the time?
That's a really good question. Actually, I can bring the cameras at the same time. The lights are pretty well set. You'll see this massive lighting grid above you. Not all the lights are on at any one time. It's very, very selective. There are certain camera positions that require certain lights, so they're coming on and off. It's actually pre-programmed into a big lighting grid, and then that'll come up. It'll come up at specific points. They're in here pretty regularly, always looking at things, trying to add shading. If a reporter or anchor changes and their height is a little bit different, we're looking at those issues. You also notice the cameras. Cameras here are actually pre-programmed.
Another handout.
Yeah. Here they're pre-programmed, and a lot of in studios, and you'll find in new studios they're either pre-programmed or robotically controlled by one person, which one person is controlling 3 or 4 cameras. But here they're all pre-programmed. So that means that when we get to a certain point in a newscast, the camera knows to automatically turn to a certain point, and then pull up that camera shot. You've also noticed, I'm sure if you watch Channel 3, you notice that all of our anchors hold iPads. They used to hold pieces of paper for many, many years. The reason is these teleprompters do occasionally like to go down. Not very often, but I have seen them go down, which is a computer system failure. They're going to go down. So all of the anchors actually have backup scripts. In addition to the way all of you gather, in ways that you all watch news now, we gather news differently. All of my reporters out in the field all have iPads. Before, if they wanted to write a script, they literally took a pen and paper and hand wrote a script. Well, now they just take their iPad, type it in, and send, and they have access from the field and put it right into our computer system. They're able to shoot video and take pictures, so we're able to update Facebook and Twitter. A lot more people are getting their news that way than traditional broadcast means, so we've had to adapt in the process. So now we have 2 people who update the web and 1 person who does nothing but handles social media. So she updates Facebook and Twitter and making sure that contests are being handled and making sure that we're staying on top of the latest trends. When we saw Pinterest starting to gain steam a couple of months ago, it was, okay, we're going to create a station Pinterest account. I don't know what Pinterest is, but she seems to think it's something that we have to deal with. All of you are younger. Your viewing habits, your news habits are going to change, so we're trying to keep an eye on those things as well. It is not easy being number one. Everyone's seemingly after you every single day. So, benefit is we've been we've been here 55 years, and we're going back to the old TV days in which you had to change your channel. You couldn't get channel 30 easily. You couldn't get channel 8 easily out of New Haven. So channel 3 was pretty much your only option. This room right over here used to be master control. Master control. For years, someone would have to be in there 24/7, physically on site. That actually controls what's going out on your air. Unfortunately, what's happened over time, instead of having to have a couple people in there constantly to making sure that commercial breaks are hitting, to making sure that the station isn't getting knocked off air, that job has unfortunately gone to Atlanta in the last year and a half, 2 years.
Atlanta, how do you mean Atlanta?
The master control, our master control operators are physically in Atlanta. There's about 4 hours a day in which someone's physically in the building, but not 24/7 anymore. Someone have to be monitored. We can now, because of fiber lines and technology, the station can be controlled on that end from a hub in Atlanta. Producers, managers, we all get together and we discuss the stories of the day. We sort of decide what order newscasts are going to go into, what stories we're going to do. It's not just one person deciding the individual order. It's taking a look at the big stories of the day, figure out what we're going to do. The reason we do it with so many people is because we all have different opinions. We all have different viewpoints in life. We all have different experiences, maybe divorce, whatever it might be. We all have different experiences, and just to have one voice isn't gonna cut it for our viewers. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to the staff that works here. So the more opinions we get into those, the better stories that we're able to tell and decide what is and is not important to our viewers. Out in the field, all have weird squiggly earpieces. It's almost like the Secret Service. They're all communicating. That's actually what we call IFP. It's how the crews in the control room communicate with the crews out in the field, and they're able to say, "Oh, you're coming up in 30 seconds. You're coming up in 10, 9, 8, go." And that's the way that they communicate. Once again, a lot is also dependent on cell phone service. After Hurricane Irene and during Winter Storm Alfred, we discovered that we were highly, highly, highly dependent on cell phones, and as pretty much every station across the country is. When we actually get into a show, decide, oh, I want to go to this camera shot, I want to go to this camera shot. She makes sure that the reporters are where they're supposed to be, make sure that their audio works properly. During actual newscast, it can get a little bit crazy and a little bit tense. Just a little. Just a little. Am I understating that just a little bit, Wendy?
Just a little.
Depending on who's producing, right?
It depends on breaking news or not.
Yeah. So she's literally able to monitor pretty much almost every video source that we have between all these monitors. She also is able to. She has the teleprompter to make sure that's working properly. The actual this is the actual camera controller here. I'm not going to touch it because I think my fingers are pretty well chopped off. This is one of the two camera controllers in the building, so we can actually, if we need to on the fly, while the cameras are pre-programmed, they can be adjusted on the fly, so we can adjust their iris or their focus or whatever it might be. Producer actually sits back here. The producer during the newscast is making sure that the show gets off on time. Television, unlike radio, if you ever listen to when you're listening to the radio, it sort of seems like 12 o'clock comes whenever 12 o'clock feels like. It doesn't really work that way with TV. 12 o'clock hits at the same time every single day. If a program runs long, it's something else, it has to be shortened to fit time. When the newscast is over, the newscast is over. Our hub in Atlanta will literally stop us mid-sentence and go to whatever program's up next. There was all sorts of issues going on with the paper. Well, no one alerted their hub in Springfield, hey, we're going along, we're gonna need more time. The rerun of Law and Order. So during Linda McMahon's closing statement, mid-sentence, they cut her off. They literally cut her off mid-sentence because no one got to the hub and said, hey, hub, we're going along. We're gonna need more time. Wait until we say we're done.